No, you don't want to get too close to that bush with it, yeah. Dean's just had a day of clearing space for a studio, haven't you? Now, with the string, just trying to kind of map out where... Is this to sort of dig out the footings as well?
Yeah, to dig out the footing.
He's going to build off the garage.
I'm not, I'm going to have it all separate.
Oh.
Just because the garage has got these pillars.
Oh, okay.
And a load of annoying detail, it'll be easier.
Just to build it right next to it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. We're just trying to weigh up whether to move the garage door round that side of the garage so that Dean has more room to play with.
But it will encroach.
But then, yeah, the bigger you make it, the smaller the gap between. Is that where you're thinking of ending it there?
Oh, no. I was saying
Blimey.
we can sort of pick where to go.
Apologies if you can hear Dean on the digger outside. I'm taking the opportunity this morning while the weather's good and the light's really good in the house to film an outfits video. All week it's been so grey and I haven't been able to film in the house. And then once I'm done with that video, I've got house jobs to do this afternoon. But I've just been doing my makeup and hair in preparation for the video. Rummaging through, I have a makeup bag that's full of stuff that I don't use every day, but I keep on hand for when I want to change up a look. It's mostly full of blushes because I tend to collect blushes more than any other makeup thing. Like, I'm not really a lipstick or an eyeshadow person, I'm very much a blush person. Just digging through to find some a change of blush, basically. I think as we come into autumn, I like to move away from those really sort of like coral and more orangey tone blushes and move towards kind of like cooler tone pinks, and I guess just nice to feel like it's a bit of a change up. Also, I've had my blonde changed slightly and I've had another haircut. So I'm just trying to like slightly adjust my makeup a little bit to kind of all work with my hair tone. Merit, Beverly Hills, cheek colour. I think this is the old packaging. I've had this for ages. Really good, like cool tone pink. It's not like a particularly strong, strongly pigmented blush. I feel like that is the way with Merit though. It's not really about like kind of like strong pigments. It's all very much like subtle, natural, buildable colour. Yeah, just a really good cool tone pink that doesn't feel too bright, but it's just enough to kind of like lift the face. Really nice one as we come into autumn. The one I've got on right now, which I don't even know if you can really see, this one's really subtle. It's a really good one for every day, just like a wash of colour. Laura Mercier's cream cheek colour in Praline. I forgot how good this is and how much I love this. So whenever the Olsen twins last went to the Met Gala, I just so happened to be following a makeup artist that did their makeup for that one Met Gala, and she posted a full rundown of everything she used, and they had quite like a heavy eye look, but done in a very like nice way, and then everything else was kept quite bare and stripped back. And this was the blush that the makeup artist used, and I remember seeing that makeup look just thinking the lip and like everything just looked beautiful, but I just loved that the blush just wasn't this kind of like strong bold blush. It was just this very kind of like just a subtle wash of colour. It's great. It's really hard to explain the colour because it almost looks brown, and I guess it kind of is brown, but because it is so subtle, it doesn't look brown on the skin at all. I love it. So 2 blushes that I have rekindled my love for. Right, I'm going to get on with my video, and then this afternoon I have the large task of varnishing the lounge floor, which I will talk about more when I get to that point. But we've been waiting for the weather to be good so that we can obviously remove all of the furniture out of that room and put it in the garden, because there's nowhere else for it to go. I've just finished taking all of the furniture out of the lounge. When we put this floor down, we used Danish oil to give it this warmer tone, and then we used a satin varnish on it. And we put about 2 or 3 layers of that satin varnish on in the hopes that that would be enough to protect it. However, the varnish itself, we've quickly realised wasn't the correct type of varnish to use. Now, once we got our furniture in and we kind of lived in this room for a couple of months, we quickly realised it wasn't really protecting the floor. We started to notice scratches, and we felt like it hadn't quite achieved the finish that we wanted. We wanted something that felt like a bit more of like a thicker, almost like lacquer finish. Not particularly high shine, but something that just felt like it was, you know, properly protecting the floor, like you would have with like a traditional parquet floor, really. And unfortunately, this just hasn't done that. And as a result, it's really difficult to clean. We have to pretty much clean it every other day, especially this area here where it's high traffic. I don't know if you can see, like, it almost looks like there's kind of like this dusty layer on the floor. And that's because the varnish hasn't properly like sealed the floor. And as a result, there's still lots of gaps, and dust and stuff is kind of getting pushed into the grain of the wood. So it's becoming increasingly difficult to clean that off. Whereas in the hallway, we used a completely different product and it's been incredible. Like, this floor and the entire stairs are a dream to clean. Everything just wipes off, nothing gets stuck in the stair into the wood grain. It's fantastic. So the same product we used in there is also the product I'm going to use here today. It's called Gran Wax. And we're using the satin finish, so it'll be the same sort of finish that we have in the hallway. So I'm now going to steam clean this to get it as clean as I can, to try and get all of this kind of like dust that's kind of stuck in the wood off, and then I will Gran Wax it.
The innovator, the regulator, she is the only one. Make some noise for Madonna. Madonna.
It's all systems go in relation to the house at the moment, which is great. But all of a sudden it just feels like there's like a million things happening all at once. Dean has finished digging out the footings for his studio. Today some blocks and sand got delivered. Tomorrow a premix of concrete arrives, which will get poured into the footings. So I think the blocks and the sand are for the outer walls. I'm not sure. This is very much Dean's project, which, and I've just said, do your thing. Like, you do whatever you want to do. I'll just be here to accept the deliveries of the materials. So I'm excited to see it all come to life. And then this morning we also had a guy come round to look at our fireplace. So we've kind of changed our priority for the last part of the year. So we were very eager to get our extension started this side of Christmas, but we were sat in the lounge the other day. We were just looking at the fireplace, which is an absolute mess. I'll show you it shortly. And we were just like, why don't we just focus on this room and get this room done so that we can spend winter just enjoying the lounge. So we got a guy in this morning to kind of just check our fireplace and check everything's kind of like all in order and actually functioning, and like there's nothing blocking the chimney or whatever. And he was like, yeah, you just got to do a few changes just to make it fire safe, because we have a wooden mantle, and then we just need to get a hearth for the wood burner to sit on, and then he just comes back and he'll do all the installation. So this weekend I think we're going to go to a reclamation yard and try and find like a really nice piece of stone that we can cut into shape and use as the hearth, and then we need to find a wood burner, which hopefully won't be too difficult. knowing our luck, there'll be like a really long lead time on the wood burner we want or something. And then once we have those elements, I think he can then just come back and install it. So fingers crossed it'll be quite like a swift process, and by the time the temperature drops and we're kind of like getting prepped for Christmas, we'll have a wood burner. And then the other thing we said we need to focus on is getting the upstairs shower room finished. Like, we still don't have a mirror above the sink, you know, little things like that that would just really make a difference to the shower room experience. So those two things I think will keep us going, along with other just like little bits and pieces we need to do until Christmas. And then the other side of Christmas we can focus on the extension, which I think makes so much more sense to do it in this order, because to try and start it this side of Christmas and then all of a sudden be like, oh no, we've got to stop again. It just, I think actually doing it the other side and having that thing to look forward to in the new year, and because it's going to be such a big project, I think it'd be nice to just tie up all the loose ends this year and then go into 2024 being like, right, we've got this big project now to focus on. It makes so much more sense, rather than starting that but also things in the main part of the house not being quite finished. So yeah, hopefully we'll still get plans in before Christmas so that they will be either approved or, you know, like any amendments need doing, so that in January we're kind of like ready to go. Right, I'll do a fireplace chat and then I'll kind of just talk you through general plans for this side of the room actually. So this is the current state of the fireplace. We've kind of just put stuff here for the sake of putting it to try and detract from how gross it looks in there. At the moment, as it stands, it doesn't meet like fire safety regs to have a fire burner in there, a wood burner, because this piece of wood here is too exposed. It'll be too exposed to the heat, and also the plate that sits in there. So a lintel needs to be put across here to protect the wood. And also I think that's just going to look a lot better because it then creates a frame around rather than just the two bits of wall on the side, which look really out of balance. Then we'll paint it possibly black, or just a very, very, very dark grey that almost looks black, but, you know, just isn't quite as harsh as black. Then we would love to find a nice piece of stone that we can cut and put in here, or some big tiles. And then some of you are going to really kill me for this. I have decided I'm going to paint this. So I've ummed and ahed about keeping it this colour. I've thought about staining it to kind of match the bookcase, but I think I'm at wood limit in here. I've got the floor, bookcase, dining tables. I think things are going to start competing with each other if I'm not careful. So I'm going to just keep this really pared back and paint it the same colour as the walls, and then it will be the dressing that kind of brings it back to life. Whilst I want this to be a focal point, I don't want it to get too busy. So we'll just keep this really pared back, find a nice piece of fun art to go up there, and then just fill the top with all of our bits. And there'll be stuff on the hearth as well. And I think as well, because a lot of our prints are framed in wooden frames, again, I think we run the risk of things getting a bit too busy. So by paring this back, if we're going to start putting stuff here or maybe here, this won't kind of make things all feel a bit too much. Also, this needs to go. This absolutely needs to go. Also, we are getting a new sofa. Whether it will be here before Christmas, we're unsure. But this one's just not comfortable enough. It's not a nice sofa to sit on, basically. So we're going to go for something just way more classic, comfortable, just something a bit more plush, you know, and also just not this big. We don't need a sofa this long. We just need like a kind of nice 3-seater. This is like completely wasted bit on the end here that we don't need. Yeah, it's just not the right sofa for us, unfortunately. So I've got some fabric swatches there for the new sofa. So although it might seem like I'm going to completely beigify things by painting this and, you know, not having like an even simpler sofa, the idea is to then be able to have more fun with what we have on the walls. Also, going to have an ottoman as well, because I think I want this section to feel a lot cozier. I want this to be the really comfy area, and an ottoman is always such a nice thing to be able to have. So we'll use this in this area, once this is no longer our dining space, you know, next year at some point when the extension's finished. So we're going to have an ottoman here, and I think as well we can have fun with that. Maybe it's something patterned, maybe it's something with, you know, like an interesting design. So hopefully that will then balance out the simple elements of the sofa, the fireplace, and then curtains will go, and we'll have shutters instead, because this isn't working. We'll just have them across the bottom, so we'll still get light in through the top. And they're you know, those shutters that you can either open them or you can just slide them up and down to let light in. There's more fun stuff happening outside the house than there is in at the moment. I'm going through my I don't know what to wear phase because the seasons are changing, so I'm just going to wear head to toe navy. I always find this time of year quite overwhelming because all of the fashion weeks have just finished, so it means that all of a sudden there's just like this massive influx of like just like new sort of trends and just like new ways of styling and just lots of stuff. It's kind of like an attack of the senses, and I get a bit overwhelmed by things. So then I just end up wearing all navy because it's a way for me to feel put together. All of these are fairly old pieces. I don't think any of this is new. This is quite an old Lex Finger Marche coat. Crew neck, and daughter jumper. Very old Sandro trousers. I feel like OG vlog viewers will know these trousers. And then, oh, actually these are kind of new. They're Blundstones, but they're like a sort of dress boot in a way because they've got a chiselled toe. I have the brown ones, the brown, I can't remember what number they are. They're the one with the round toe, the very kind of like classic, typical Blundstone that you think of when you think of Blundstones, and they're great. But I kind of wanted something that served the same purpose, that it could be absolutely like trashed and taken through all weather and feels virtually indestructible, but feels a little bit dressier. And this feels like a good balance. Like my brown ones have really been through it. Like I've put them through their paces and they're still great. So I'm confident that these will be a kind of slightly smarter alternative. And then I will just put on a tote bag, I think. I'm just going to the post office and then I'm going to go out and get myself lunch from Lidl. Lidl is an exciting place to be at the moment because Christmas is starting to filter in. So I'm excited to see the changes that will happen in the middle of Lidl over the next month or so, because I imagine it will only get more and more Christmassy. But it's quite hard to go in there and not leave with like a full basket of just like Christmas related food. Yeah, I need to just go in and go out and not get distracted.
We are now approaching Cambridge.
I'm working in Cambridge today and I've fully planned to use my spare time walking around the city because it's a really good city for walking around, but not in this weather. I think it's going to be a museum afternoon, a couple of museums and some bookshops, I reckon. just had quite an exciting delivery. Door handles. Yes, quite a milestone because we have not had door handles for months. There has been a screw screwed into every single door. Door handles have been one of those things that I've ummed and ahed about for far too long because I wasn't sure how much they would affect a space, if you know what I mean. All I know is that I hated the door handles at our old house, but that was because they were such an afterthought and I picked them so quickly. And then because I didn't like them, I noticed them all the time. Had they been a handle that I really liked, I probably wouldn't have been so hyper-focused on them, if you know what I mean. It's just because I didn't like them. But I was kind of more concerned about the hallway because we've never had a landing before, so I'm unsure how to kind of like dress it in, because that in itself feels like a space that needs to be kind of sorted out. And as you come up to the landing, you're greeted with like 4 doors. So I was like, well, it needs to be a nice handle because you're going to see that handle on all 4 of those doors. And I didn't know whether to go really fancy, really ornate, something gold, something silver. And then we recently bought this really beautiful big bronze, like aged bronze doorknob for the front door. So it's like this really dark brown. And it looks really good with the schoolhouse white. And I was like, right, I think that's the kind of style I need to go for throughout the rest of the house. So rather than buying a big bronze doorknob for absolutely every single interior door, because that would be a bit ridiculous, and it's quite a big doorknob because it's for the front door, I thought I'll order something in the same vein as that. So I got these dark brown wooden handles from an architectural ironmonger up in Edinburgh. So these are dark wood, and then this is like an aged bronze plate that will sit behind it. And I think they'll just look really nice against the schoolhouse white. They're a nice enough handle that I'll be like, oh, that's a lovely handle, but it's not ornate in a way that will completely draw my attention to it. Because I was looking at like gold handles with all sort of like ornate details on them. I was also looking at some that had kind of like ornate plates with like scalloped edges, and I was like, does that feel a bit too now, a bit too like trendy? Will I regret that later on? And I thought, do you know what, this feels a lot more classic and feels a bit more in keeping with the door handle that might have been here once upon a time. So hopefully these will look nice. They were quite reasonably priced. I think they were between, I think they were around £20 to £24 per set. So that feels like quite a milestone ticked off. Very pleased. I know Dean will be pleased. Literally every other day he's like, have you picked a door handle? Have you picked a door handle? I'm like, no, not yet. These are the tiny loose ends that feel good to kind of get tied up, because they're little things that you learn to live with that don't annoy you enough. But then when you sort them out, you're like, wow, that has really made things a lot easier. Like, we can't close any doors properly, you know? So to be able to actually close a door, it's going to be very nice. Hold on. Just realised I actually have one of the doorknobs that we use for the front door to hand, because it came as a set, but we have only put it on one side of the door. This was from the reclamation yard, actually. I realised I have not spoken about that disaster of a visit. This was the one success. We should have known from the get-go when it was pissing it down with rain that it wasn't going to be good, because most of it's outside. So we were getting soaked, everything outside was soaked. There was just piles and piles of like tiles, slabs, stone, all dripping wet. So you couldn't really get an idea of what the colour of them were. And you need time to kind of go through everything, measure. Yeah, so it wasn't, unfortunately, the success we were hoping it would be. So we'll go back on a dry day and fingers crossed we'll find something to use as a hearth, because the fireplace, we have picked a wood burner now, so all we need is the hearth, and then we'll like paint it all and everything and it'll be good to go. But yeah, you can see like how nice is that. It's super weighty as well. It's really satisfying to use. Looking like virtually identical to what I bought, but this is wood and this is brass. don't know why I've ever worried about what might happen if my career in, you know, social media content ends, because really I could actually be just a builder's apprentice. That was hard. Just spent like 3 hours trying to like lay the footings, but like it's one of those jobs where like you just, the flow of it, just couldn't really get into it, and now it's just absolutely pouring with rain again. So I mean, it's good to just chip away at it, you know, every little bit helps, but yeah, it's just been one of those afternoons where it just felt like we couldn't quite get on or get the rhythm going. But hopefully tomorrow we'll try again. I'm not going to just freshen myself up because we're going to go out for dinner this evening. Just the highs and the lows of just, what is that? Is that, I just feel like I'm covered in, I've got like cement in my hair. I'm absolutely covered in the stuff. Right, I think this has been quite a meaty October recap, so I'm going to sign off here. It's been very house focused, hasn't it? And I imagine the next one probably will be as well, as we hopefully, fingers crossed, progress more with the fireplace and the studio space outside. So I hope you've enjoyed this one. Thanks again to Organic Basics for sponsoring this video. Links to this top and these very comfy sport pants, which you will have seen me wearing grey as well in the video, will be in the description box, and you can use the discount code BrittanyOB to get 10% off Organic Basics. All of that info in the description box. So without further ado, I'll say goodbye. I think you've had enough of me for October, and I'll see you in the next one.